Hey everybody, how's it going today? I'll be talking today about the planned changes coming up in our next update to Kerbal Space Program, point 19. And the last update, point 18, was pretty big. It was, added a whole lot of things to the game, and it looks like point 19 is going to be about just as big. It's a lot of things. I have a list over here, and but before we get to that, point 18.3, which should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Uh, Big changes. They're switching over to the Unity 4 engine, which should make performance a lot better. I'm not too sure of the specifics, but there are some physics enhancements, and it looks like it's going to be just a lot better and a lot easier to run the game. They're thinking about some other things, maybe a probe size ASAS part, and some other basic things like, oh, they're thinking about a merchandise store for things like mouse pads, and so look forward to that. But when it comes to point 19, here are some of the changes. We are finally going to get rovers, and that is actually tying into a whole bunch of things that they are introducing in this patch, including things like they call it Kerbal docking, which really it's seats for Kerbals, and so you can build seats on the outside of your craft, and your Kerbals can sit on them, which are mostly meant for rovers. Although it does kind of bring interesting images of Jeb riding on a seat on a rocket through space. Might have to do something like that. And another thing we're looking at is re-entry heat. Finally, they're adding a whole lot of things in this update that we've been hoping for quite a long time, and re-entry heat is one of them. They've spoken about this, that they want to have a balance between realism and making it or and not making it totally annoying, because in the real world, if you wanted to land anything on a planet with an atmosphere, you'd have to have a heat shield covering all of it. For instance, see the Curiosity lander, and they don't want to limit what you can land on planets with atmospheres. So they haven't really decided to what extent they're going to implement it, but just know there is going to be reentry heat. It is going to be dangerous, especially if you enter the atmosphere at a steep angle. You're gonna burn up. You're gonna explode. I've got a whole bunch more parts, some of which we know, some of which we don't, and a lot of these parts tie into the next point, which is resource gathering, a la the Kethane mod that was pretty popular, and I haven't actually used it myself, but I've heard it's pretty good. But yeah, they're gonna have a whole bunch of new resources. There's a large flowchart, which I might pop up on the screen here, although it is probably hard to read. So I'll definitely put a link to it in description. But it's looking like three or four areas you can gather resources from uh, liquid and ground and atmosphere, and then there's electricity, of course. And there are a whole bunch of new parts that reflect gathering from those areas. For instance, for the atmosphere, you have air scoops. For the water, you have, well, basically what big water pumps, and for ground, you have drills, which is also a lot like the Kethane mod. Although they're making it clear that they're not taking anything from the Kethane mod. It's all new stuff. But of course, the idea is kind of similar, so you can see the similarities. And up here on the screen right now are some of the pictures of the new parts that we have released, and they look pretty good. It's got some drills and got these big parabolic dishes, which you will be able to put on probes slash satellites, have them orbit around and scan for materials, because it will. In another way, it is like Kethane. It will resources will be concentrated in certain areas. They've also mentioned that resources will be finite, and you will not be able to just mine the same area forever and ever. It's going to run out eventually, and you're going to have to move to a new area. But they've also said that the resources are going to be so plentiful that it's practically impossible to mine it all out, which could be irritating, but is also realistic, and I like realism. Another thing, uh, they've talked about this in previous updates, but haven't gotten to it yet. But flags, being able to plant flags on celestial bodies, and even design your own custom flags, which I'm pretty excited about that. You could have two Rocket Guys logo on the flag and claim it for the moon. Let's see over here. Got some new animations going on. Animations on EVA, especially expressions. I haven't said too much about what other EVA animations they have, but they're going to have facial expressions while you're flying them around, and there are already a few videos out for that, and I'll drop a link to them in the description. In addition, we're getting a new engine for particle effects. It says here in the notes that it's new particle engine, which might imply that it's some sort of new rocket engine that runs off of space magic. But no, it's for particle effects like the the like the fog that comes off when you undock things, or burnout, or flame out animations, that kind of stuff. Um, and that's really all that is really interesting that they are bringing in 19. They're doing some things like changing the store, making it so that you don't always have to have PayPal to pay for the game. Within the next couple of versions, they'll be doing a fix for some targeting bugs, and there's really not a whole lot else that they're adding. But something that is really important is that all of the, um, the resource gathering and processing equipment takes a lot of electricity, which they added in the last update, and until now nothing really burns it very much. It's kind of useless for now, but when they add all the resource gathering stuff, it will be much more useful. But that's the end of the list. There are some speculations on what's going to come in the update after that, point 20. They'll be doing the most interesting thing is a real model for drag and aerodynamics, because the one we have right now is kind of a placeholder and not exactly very realistic, or it's very simplistic. But they're planning on doing an overhaul for that. There are some optimizations for performance, because that is kind of an issue right now, and basically anything that they didn't get done in 19, which at this point everything's coming along pretty well, and everything that I said is looking likely to be in point 19. So I'm pretty excited about almost everything that they have here, and that wraps up our news here. So I hope that you guys are all having an awesome day, and I will see you guys later.